yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for July 17th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, we finally know what... I'm reading the one from yesterday because I opened it up to see what the poll was, Sean. Today, Nintendo announces a new peripheral for old Joy-Con controllers, and Xbox gave its controller a big butt. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game Mess Mornings. It's Sean, Turbo Sean McDowell. Sean, how's it going?
It's going.
Look, it's going as well as it possibly can. All right, everyone's gone. We're holding this together as best we can.
Yeah, this week I had to be me. I had to be Jan. I'm preparing for a trip. I'm a busy person.
Yep.
I'm heading out in like 4 hours right now to do a whole string of traveling methods that I'm putting together to get out to Vegas.
Yeah. Well, what is it? What does that look like? Is it like bus to the airport? What?
It's bus to another city to the airport.
Right. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Because, hey, look, saving like $300 on a flight, you do what you have to do, Jeff.
Yeah, sure. It's $300 is a huge amount.
Yeah,
duh.
Huge difference. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I would take a bus for sure. I always tell the story, but I did take a Greyhound back from PAX West in Seattle to Columbus, Ohio, back when I lived in Columbus still. And
there you go.
That was enough Greyhound maybe for a lifetime. And yet it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad in the end.
Jeff, I grew up dirt poor. Greyhounds are all I know.
Greyhounds,
I live on the
Greyhounds aren't that bad.
Right.
You know what,
fine.
though? I got every time we talk about this, Europeans got to be like, what are they talking about? Because buses in Europe, we were traveling there. Steph planned our travel, and she's like, no, the buses are great. And they all feel like you're on an airplane, basically. It's really
because they take care of them and everything.
They take care of them, and it's real nice. And they have a lot of great bus manufacturers there, Mercedes and stuff like that. Okay,
well, Jeff, I'm doing good. I wanted to ask you. Because it looks like we might, we got the Circana report, but otherwise seems like maybe a slow news day
for sure.
Jeff, I think we can have 5 minutes of therapy. How are you doing? You had a rough day yesterday. You had some bad news about a game you were really looking forward to. Look, I know what that's like. I'm not just a Nintendo fan. I'm a Pokemon fan.
Oh boy.
Nobody knows disappointment the way we do, Jeff. So don't worry. I know where you're coming from. You had to play Daikatana for 3 freaking hours. I went to the store. I took a shower. I got ready for the trip, and you were still playing that damn game.
Was it great? Not
Who knows what else has been going on? No. You probably didn't buy Squidward and heard about that.
I've decided I will buy Squidward, and I'm going to hang on to it until she really earns it sometime soon. So maybe a birthday or Christmas. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, I am. I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there. Daikatana was rough for me, and I think me alone. Everyone else seemed to enjoy it. Well, I don't know. After so long in that level, maybe no one was enjoying that level anymore. But it's frustrating because I'm like, okay, no, clearly this is going to be the longest game. You guys were incorrect at taking how long to beat. And they're like, well, no, how could it be so off? Because everyone who plays that game goes right into the options, even if you don't do the fan patch. There is options in the menu to basically make your companions turned off in a lot of ways, so you don't have to deal with them nearly as much. And there is unlimited saves right there, and everyone just does that. No one uses the save gems. So it's like I am playing in such a way that very few people have actually played this game, and so it's going to go so much longer. And you end up in situations like this where I'm starting with not a lot of health. I don't have enough ammo. I could reload an old save, which is probably what I'll do something like that next time we start it up. But I did play a lot of Nintendo World Championships last night. A lot of.
Okay.
I've gone through about half the Mario stuff, and then I did the online tournament where it is like a championship where they pick 5 events from these 150 smaller events, and you do all of those. You set your best time. It's weird, and we'll talk about more. We'll find some place to talk about it. But for now, it's weird because normally with a situation you would complete your thing and you would get the leaderboard for that event, or at the very least it's this is a leaderboard that we are going to get for this world championship for this week at the end of this week. So in this moment, I don't know how I'm doing. I don't know if I should go back and try to improve my times. So I tried to get like really good times on all the levels, but it's like I'm kind of off, like isolated, and I don't feel like I'm part of a competition really, other than I know at the end of the week these scores are going to be counted up, and I still feel a drive to go in there and try stuff, but it's frustrating when you are like, okay, I think I could be doing this level better. Is there like ghost data or something I can go and look and see if I am at least on the right track toward getting that S rank on this level? And it's like that stuff's not there, so it's pretty isolating on that side. And then yet everything else, when you're playing it, I think they nailed it. It's really good with the way it's presenting the challenges. A big part of that is several of these early challenges that are like that they've selected, and like a lot of the Mario stuff. These are things that I would just do when I was playing the game anyhow, like trying to hit every brick at the beginning of the stage of 1, 2 in Super Mario Brothers as quickly as possible by bouncing off the Goombas. Okay. That sort of thing. I would just do that every time I was playing to kind of keep myself engaged and entertained. And now they've turned that into a little challenge. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is clearly just made for me. And I'm feeling that way. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it. And going online and sharing the times on Twitter is something, but boy, God, this game would just be perfect if it had leaderboards on everything that it should have leaderboards on. So
to be clear, because I saw a lot of people parroting, there are no leaderboards in the game. And I think that devolved into there's no online connectivity. We were lied to because the internet is the internet, which is not the case.
Yeah, not necessarily, but it feels that way sometimes.
It is. Yeah, it is. Devil's advocate here. They set out to recreate the Nintendo World Championships from back in the 80s. And they did that for not really even for better, but just for worse.
Right. They did it for worse.
Because that's you score your best time as best as you can get it in these selected challenges for the week. And then at the end of the week, like a tournament, you see how well you do against everyone else. That being said, that's not what anyone expects in 2024.
No,
you expect to just be able to see how your friends are doing so you can instantly compete against them.
Right. That's just how we assume competitions work now. So yeah, it's strange. There is a technically head-to-head online mode in a way. It's asynchronous. You're going against ghost data, so that feels a little strange.
Okay.
Yeah, it's and there's like the easy one, which takes the easy weekly challenges, or the easier weekly challenges, and you do those really quick. And then there's the hard stage, which takes the harder challenges. I think it also picks like harder ghost data as well, because I was going up against several people who were able to get S ranks every time on their first try, because that's how it works here. So very, very interesting way of doing things, and mostly it feels like you are disconnected from other players in a lot of ways.
So so there's ghost data, but no leaderboard. What does that look like?
So the ghost data, it's not like you're selecting the ghost data. It's like, it pretends to be matchmaking. You start it up. And
it gives you a random person.
It gives you 7 random people to go against. And it even like slowly slots them in as if it's matchmaking to make it feel like it's online. It's weird.
Again, that's very much them recreating a tournament setting, which is what they intended, not what people expect. I was thinking about this yesterday because I was like, is the lack of what people expect really going to ruin the game? Because this is something that I brought up when we were talking, not to open an old wound or fresh wound, when we were talking about Concord last week, the difference between player expectation and developer intent, where they made a hero shooter. We expected a certain something, at least us on the site. We expected Overwatch, basically. Wasn't that? Okay, so developer intent, is that still good? And we weren't really feeling it. So I was thinking about this, where what the player expected was to have this instant updating leaderboard with your friends' scores and everything. But we're not getting that. So is the game still good? Is my question. Is like, okay, clearly a subpar product. Clearly they should have done more. What's going on here? Is it still fun to play?
Yeah, I think everything else is pretty spot on. The presentation is fantastic. I really like the way it looks. People were calling out some of the colors when I posted a couple of videos on Twitter, and I think just really good style. There is this effect that I couldn't tell if it was the Colorado Night or if it was just actually happening in the game, but like there's a cheering effect where when you start the level they go yay, and then they like kind of murmur in the background, and what it felt like is as I was doing button inputs to like hit A, and as my character was like jumping up, it felt like the audience was just having slight little responses to what I was doing in the background, which kind of kept like made me feel like, oh man, there's really, not really an audience watching, but it feels like there's something. People are getting excited as I'm playing. And then
more tournament stuff, sure,
exactly. It definitely feels like you're in a tournament in front of an audience. All that stuff really good. I think the challenges they've selected are pretty good. On this side of things, taking out the online stuff, putting that aside, my concern here, and it's just a concern at this point, it's not actually a problem in this moment, is that we're going to get to a point where you get through these 150 challenges, you S rank all of them, which is what I think that's going to be my goal for this. And then it's going to be like, okay, now they are filtering in these challenges over and over again. This game would be better if there was sort of a larger library that they are maybe like filtering in here, and like they are swapping them in and out. And it's like, okay, now this is the set of challenges, and this is the current 150 from, even like 1,000. That would be better. So I in the moment though, I'm just having a blast setting these times. There are ones that are like, I can, on my third time, I'm setting an S rank, and there's others where it takes me, I don't know, 50, 60 tries. I mean, it's like sometimes they're like 3 seconds, sometimes they're 30 seconds. And either way,
sure,
it's really good.
Okay. I think this is just another example of Nintendo kind of being Nintendo. They got the secret sauce, and the presentation is there, but they're hilariously lacking in some regard. Usually it's online.
Yep.
That's what's going on here. At the very least, I'm slightly optimistic. I saw some people saying that, Nintendo doesn't update their games ever. In the Switch era, they actually do put out like free quality of life updates, and people kind of just don't talk about them.
Yeah, they do two kinds of updates. They do the updates that actually do respond to criticism here and there, not like all the time,
not always,
but enough that I have some hope. And then they have the other one where it is like the Mario sports games that we talked about, where they had this stuff ready and waiting, and it's just going to get released as an update a few weeks after it comes out, or a few months, to kind of make it feel like a little bit of an ongoing game, which I think there's a potential that is going to happen here. I almost get the sense that that's going to happen.
Because clearly they're gathering your data for the leaderboard. So there's the potential that they could just update it so that there is a live updating leaderboard, which is what people want.
There is no way that there was never a version of this game with leaderboards. They definitely had that in there at some point, and they made some decision at some point for whatever reason, and we could speculate on that. I'm sure it's a variety of things. Like we said, maybe their intent, and maybe they just want to minimize toxicity or something like that. There's all kinds of possibilities.
They always have that kind of reasoning.
Yes, they do. Whatever. I think there's a chance still that that leaderboards get added. That could be copium, though. So
could just be optimism. Hey, it's a $30 product. It's subpar. If people don't like it, don't buy it. Simple as that. And if it does sound interesting, play it. Sure. I personally think this feels like it should have been a $20 product, but I think NES Remix was the same way. Felt like a $20 game. They sold it for $30. I think this would have been a really good addition to NSO plus expansion pack. Yeah, personally.
Definitely.
Like,
that would be great.
It's free with expansion pack, or it's like $30 MSRP or whatever. I think that might have been nice, but whatever. I don't know. It seems a little disappointing. I would appreciate some quality of life updates, but at the end of the day, personally, I'm not going to tell anyone else how to react. But personally, I'm kind of just over getting mad about this stuff. It's disappointing. I'll probably just
yes. This is the one that's like very particularly in my wheelhouse. So this is the one where I'm like,
I get that.
I am going to get mad about this one and be frustrated. But it's like I feel that way about so many other things. Hey, so I totally get it. Yeah,
Jeff. It's no Scarlet and Violet. You'll live.
Yeah, I will live. That's a good point. The worst thing here is like if it had leaderboards and it had like selectable ghost data, this would be a 5-star game for me. It would be that good. So it's kind of we're just like right there. And without those things, it's actually like 3 stars. It's like it's that big of a gap. But still, they put together a decent package that could just be better. We'll see. Okay. All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube.
YouTube.
There it is. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Nintendo announces official Switch Joy-Con charging stand. This is from Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life.
In 2024.
In 2024. The Switch Joy-Con are quite easy to charge, but the catch is you have to attach them to the system. With this in mind, Nintendo has announced a new Switch Joy-Con charging stand, allowing these controllers to be easily charged without the console. The new accessory will be arriving in Japan on the 17th of October, 2024, for 3,300 yen, which is around $21. That's better than I was expecting, and is available now in this location for pre-order via the My Nintendo store. Nintendo UK tweeted later that it's coming to the UK as well, and then I think did Inoue actually confirm eventually? I think it did, but maybe not. Either way, though, real reason the story's here, Sean, is what you said. It's 2024. The Joy-Cons are old, I hope, and that we are going to be moving past them. Why release this peripheral now at like when the Switch 2 feels imminent and could replace the Joy-Con? I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. The pants and everything. People think that, well, it's probably going to be Joy-Cons, but with a different design.
Yeah, right. My assumption would be like the rail upon which that you are sliding these Joy-Con to charge them will not work exactly the same and would be different enough that the new Joy-Con might not. I don't think you're going to be able to slide new Joy-Con onto the Switch 1. Do you think that would be the case? I mean, I guess there's a possibility.
No, well, I mean, it depends on what the whole magnets thing everybody was talking about is actually going to look like. If that's the only way they connect to the console, that's because what they were talking about on actually a tech podcast where they were comparing to something else. And so I heard a little bit more about the tech. Apparently, this is a thing that has existed in other products where it's the type of electromagnet where it's not active, it's passive to activate a magnetic lock. So you send a small current through the magnet, and so that way it like instantly locks on, and then it just won't let go until you send a current through it again to like reverse the polarity or whatever, and it unlocks. So if Nintendo is implementing a simple version of that for the new Joy-Cons to make them very easy to take on and off, less wear on the rails, then yeah, this wouldn't work between the two generations.
Right. So, if it's that different and it's not like just a little bit something extra. So my assumption would be they could do the exact same rail, and then there's also those magnets to keep it more secure or something like that.
That could be, yeah.
But we don't know.
This is just odd because the third party, even officially licensed charging stands have been around forever.
Yeah, so I got one right over there that someone sent me for review like years and years ago, and most of the time I'm not really using it because I got the Joy-Con on the Switch. I'll just use those. But occasionally when the kids want to play something, I'm like, I'm glad I had these charged and ready to go.
Yeah, for audio listeners who can't look at it right now, my understanding is that I think of like the Joy-Con grip. It looks like the middle portion of the Joy-Con grip, or if you have the charging Joy-Con grip, it looks like that, where it's like just that little rectangular bar you slide the Joy-Cons onto. And then it's like that can stand up, but it looks like it can also fold flat, so you can like use it as a Joy-Con charging grip while it's charging or something like that. I don't know. It's just an odd thing to put out right now,
Yeah, I mean, at $20 though, it's
$20. That's not.
It's awful. Not bad, right? Especially when
for
like
a Nintendo accessory, especially
right, especially when their dock costs $90 or whatever. And these are the kinds of products you put out because they do have high margins, right? There's $2 worth of parts in this thing, and they're gonna.
Oh yeah, I used to work in retail. You'd be amazed at how cheap it is to manufacture a controller and accessories. Yeah.
So I guess then the big question, as always, over the last couple of months, what does this mean for the Switch 2, if anything, Sean?
I think nothing.
Yep.
Like, I think people underestimate how much Nintendo supports a console until that console is dead. Like,
definitely that's the most simple solution. Yep.
Yeah, it'll vary depending on the system. Obviously some had longer legs through the next generation, like GBA into DS because of the whole third pillar thing. And then you have stuff like the Wii U where they drop it like a bad habit,
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yep.
It all depends. The Switch is just, and I keep trying to remind people whenever they get super hype about the potential of Switch 2. Switch is still selling like hotcakes, so they're still going to keep supporting in small ways.
Yep, at the very least, I mean, if it says anything, it just continues to say that there is money in supporting the Switch, and that's really what's driving these decisions. This does, I don't think this says like, oh, well, Switch 2 is much further away because of anything else other than the Switch is successful, and then that is the reason that you put out something like this, because like they think people will buy this. I think it's no more complicated than that. That said, I don't think I need it. I'm good. I already got one.
Nah,
Yep.
Same.
All good. It looks fine enough, but it doesn't look anything that much better than any of the third-party ones. So,
just some plastic and a USB-C port. That's it.
Yep. Actually, my dock has 4 rails, so I could charge 4 of them at a time. So I'll just, I'll keep
fancy.
using that. Yes, exactly. I'm living the high life over here. Splitgate 2 has been announced and set for a 2025 launch on PC and consoles. This is from Ben Lyons at Game Reactor. Just the other day, we reported on the news that developer 1047 Games had announced it had an announcement in the pipeline, an announcement that seemed to refer to the reveal of Splitgate 2, and that was absolutely true. 1047 has now lifted the curtain on Splitgate 2 and affirmed that it will be a bigger and better follow-up that will launch in 2025 on PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, and PS5. 2025, and we're still getting the last gen consoles. The game will again offer first-person action and portal hopping mechanics, but will bolster it with 3 unique factions to choose from that offer unique gameplay styles, competitive strategies, and loadouts. This will be complemented with a selection of arenas, weapons, and modes, and the game will be playable either alone or with friends. Well, that's a huge advancement there. Yeah, Splitgate. Remember that? Like 2021, everyone going wild for Splitgate, and then and it was like this darling of the shooter scene for good reason. It was a fun game to play, and okay, let me ask you, why do you think Splitgate 1 sort of faded in such a strong way that it seemed to? Like, it just seemed to like go away in a way that I wasn't expecting.
I mean, it was just like a smaller indie-ish, like indie level game.
Right.
Like, I don't know, those never really take off in a big way when it's multiplayer at the very least.
Right, so you just need such a huge infrastructure to support that sort of thing.
Right, you need like advertising, which this game probably just never got. You need to put it everywhere and to have those individual platforms market it and everything. I don't know, that to me, Splitgate seemed like it just had a dedicated community, and that's maybe all the game ever needed at that level.
It popped off for like a few months there, and it was mostly probably because of streamers. Like a lot of streamers were playing it, and then those streamers moved on to something else.
Yeah, I think because the official release was 2022. Early access was like. Yeah, on consoles 2021. Yeah, I saw a lot of people picking up because they were like, Halo Infinite is the worst game ever. And so let's go play Splitgate. And sure, whatever, dude. But I think that's why it popped off. For me, I'm more interested in why the 2. And when you have a smaller game like this, it seems like, again, this is bigger than ever for them. I'm always curious why the sequel. Obviously, with AAA games in multiplayer, it's been basically marketing at this point. Overwatch 2 happened, and then, well, I guess before that, even Destiny 2 happened, and it's just marketing ever since. But with something smaller like this, there usually is technical reasons for them to do the 2. I think of like Nickelodeon All Stars. They put out a 2, and everyone's like, why not just like update the old game? And it's because they did enough under the hood changes and everything, and frankly, they needed to recuperate some costs, that it actually made sense for that team. And looking at this, Splitgate 1 was Unreal 4. This is Unreal 5. It seems like they're just like building something, probably not from the ground up, but really radically overhauling things in the background and under the hood. And that's why they would put out a new version. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's sort of circular, right? Where it's they have technological reasons why it's like, okay, maybe we should have something that feels more like a real sequel, and at the same time they probably have like business reasons, and one enables the other. It's just putting out a game that feels like a fresh start, gives you a chance to start up the marketing machine again, gives you a chance to reintroduce yourself to players who would likely never jump in on a game late because they're like, there's too much, the scene is already established, I don't want to get my butt kicked. Point. And so that enables you to be like, okay, and since we have these business needs, what can we do to really make it feel like a sequel? And jumping from Unreal 4 to 5 is just one of those things. But and adding voices to Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl or whatever is another.
Yes.
I'm hopeful for them. I think that the scene of shooters is something that would always benefit from having more of these games, sort of drawing people away for at least for a little bit from the big established games that have sort of cemented themselves at the top and have been for years and years and years now. We were looking, Apex Legends still has 200,000 active daily users on Steam or something like that. And that's just Apex Legends, let alone like Fortnite, like the real top of the pile. That just takes up so much oxygen out of the room that I think having some of these games chip away at the side, one of them I think will eventually down the line crack the code and be like, and now this is actually the replacement for Fortnite. People are actually going to move on from that. Maybe that doesn't happen this time. It's how it's happened in the past. But it will come probably from games like this at some point in the future.
Yeah.
All right, next story. Microsoft just gave the Xbox controller a huge ass. I had to choose between this headline or Kotaku's, which is Xbox enables you to play with Deadpool's butt or something like that, which is also very good.
Also good
from
headline,
Michael,
yes.
Yep, this is from Michael McWhorter at Polygon. The Xbox team's tradition of strange, movie-themed, extremely limited edition wireless controllers continues with a new Deadpool-inspired version that adds a voluminous and juicy booty. Yes, there's a new Xbox wireless controller with a smooth, round butt, and we can thank Deadpool and Wolverine for this blessing. Yeah, the actual announcements designed by Deadpool. And
yeah, I saw you put this in here, and I was like, what the hell is Jeff talking about? And I didn't know,
there it is.
Booty.
There, yeah. People, video watchers could just see. There it is.
There it is.
There's the back shot of the controller, of course. And yeah, I don't know. It looks absurd. These things are fun. I think this one's especially stupid, in a fun way. But yeah,
this is good stupid, not like the fuzzy Sonic the Hedgehog one.
Right, that one is like an eldritch horror.
That's nightmare feel.
Yes,
yeah.
Like you read that in a book that's supposed to keep you up at night. This, I think that you could only win this. I guess this is just a giveaway.
That's usually how those work. Yeah, what these over-designed controllers are usually giveaways they do on Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But speaking of, I have beef with our buddy Mikey O'Leary
because
the IGN Twitter account, for whatever reason, the image of this controller was flipped, and so that was the first thing I saw. I was like, that would be the sickest thing ever if they put out a controller with the analog stick on the right hand, the buttons on the left hand, and no, they just flipped the image for whatever reason. I was like, oh man, that would have been a Deadpool controller.
So wait, you want a controller with the buttons on the left?
Look, Jeff, if I'm buying a controller with a huge ass, I want it to be as stupid as possible. I don't want to use the damn thing. I want to display it in a case.
All right, fair enough. Okay, you want it to be a true, like a piece of art that people be like, what is this thing? What's going on in the front? And you're like, wait till
you cross their eyes when they enter my home.
Yes. Yeah, what is going on here? It's like, wait till you see the ass.
Yeah.
It's got a huge ass. Sorry, I was got to do a little bit of heat there for everybody. All right,
of course.
We'll take a break. When we get back, plenty more headlines. I promise that's the last one about butts, though. Right, we'll be back right after this. And as promised, we have returned. We have...
As promised.
As promised. We have a lot more headlines here for you. Let's start here. 82% of American players made an in-game purchase last year, a survey suggests. This is from Andy Robinson of VGC. 82% of American video game players made an in-game purchase last year. That's according to ComScore's 2024 State of Gaming report published by GI.biz, which was made in partnership with the in-game advertising platform Anzu. According to the report, 62% of adults over the age of 18 played a video game, with millennials comprising 49%, followed by Gen Z at 13%. Of the people surveyed, 77% play on more than one platform, and over a third regularly use a combination of console, PC, and mobile. It's claimed that video game enthusiasts in the U.S. spent 45 billion hours on gaming sites and apps last year, with esports becoming increasingly popular. 86% of Gen Z and 80% of millennials surveyed said that they watched esports. What? While 53% of Gen Z and 61% of millennials said that they engaged with esports content. Our 2024 State of Game report highlights the cultural significance of gaming and the vital role, blah, blah, blah. They also went on to say 82% of American players made a purchase in-game last year. So if you play a game and you're American, there's a 4 out of 5 chance that you spent money on an in-game item. And I think that sounds mostly right to me at this point. But maybe a bit high. I'm a little bit skeptical of a full 82%. Now, we live in a different time. I'm sorry, I gotta pause this spinning Deadpool ass that I still have playing for me over here. We're in a different time than when it was like all about whales. Remember, like 10 years ago, it was like you would always hear it's like, they don't care if you don't spend money because they're going to get the whale to spend money and then they're going to pay for everyone else. And that's definitely still happening and definitely still important. But it's changed a lot to the point where it's like, actually, the lifetime average value from any player is about $20. And there are still some that don't pay, so they offset the average. And there are still whales that spend a ton. But you can expect like someone that comes into this game to eventually spend about $20. So that lines up with that sort of thinking, which has been the case for the last few years. Sean, what do you think? First of all, are you someone who has bought something in game in the last year?
Well, first of all, you were on a roll. I didn't want to stop you to say that Anzu is totally Bayonetta's manager. Second of all, if you play a multiplayer game nowadays, yeah, of course you've bought something.
Right.
At this point, I feel like if you play multiplayer games at all, you've probably spent just like even once, like bought a skin in a shooter. You put like $1 into Pokemon Go. You bought a battle pass in some game. Like there's so many. What they're counting here is at least seemingly is any purchase in a free-to-play game would count as an in-game purchase. So
right.
Yeah, I just feel like if you engage with those games at all in any way, shape, or form, you've probably chipped in something.
Yep, I think
like,
so.
The number of people who are, let's face it, you know, as people with an old school mentality ourselves, it's a kind of an old school mentality to like put your foot down. I will not spend money on these games. Like I will not buy this horse armor. Like no, like it's $1 or you know it's $5 for something that looks cool. Like everyone does it nowadays. You play fighting games like I do. Of course you're gonna buy a costume for like your favorite character if it looks sick enough. I know that we can't make sweeping terms and say absolutely everybody, but yeah.
Yeah, and
Makes
there's
sense.
Yes, and it's we are a long way away from the horse armor debacle for Skyrim. Yeah, like that was forever ago at this point, and the world has changed a lot, and now it's very normal. And and while there are plenty of games that are very popular, especially on mobile, where people are playing free and they're always playing free, and they're going on to YouTube to find the best way to get the most stuff by playing for free, a lot of people eventually are like, man, it's just going to be more convenient if this time I just spend a little bit of money. And these games are designed to extract that from you by rocket scientists and economists. So we're at a disadvantage. We were always going to lose this fight. It's kind of, at this point, seeing this number, again, not too shocking. Although I think this does kind of like go in, it ties into that story we were talking about, like, oh, only 2,000 people bought Resident Evil 7 and, you know, only 10,000 bought some of these other games on iOS. This is settled at this point, right? The monetization scheme is the way people think about buying stuff on mobile is always going to be in-app purchases for mostly free-to-play games. And the idea that we are going to be able to take the console experience and sort of migrate it over to mobile is kind of laughable at this point to me. What does that sound right to you?
Well, yeah, and this is something I talked about in the Bombcast this week, where it's just you can't just put full games on a platform where people don't expect the full games, expect that to work out. That people are going to expect you to do something like what leads to this, have a free-to-play game that then people can spend a couple bucks on to get something in. Yep. You kind of joked a little bit about the like losing the battle here and all this, and I think to some degree some games are better for it. Like
sure.
think about the fact that like something like I'm looking at what I play, like Warzone. I didn't have to pay $70 on Warzone,
right?
And while there's absolutely insidious business practices in that game that I personally encourage people to just stay away from because it is insidious, at the same time, me and my buddies got a game for free that we like playing all the time. Yeah. They didn't have to pay a dime because, first of all, they could see, oh yeah, I'm not spending $30 on skin or whatever the hell it is. I'm not like going into this loot Xboxy sort of battle pass that I'm not messing with any of this. So I think some games are better for moving in that direction, even if there are business practices like gacha that should be criticized, rightfully.
Yeah, this is there's always the risk of us getting into a slippery slope argument, or me worrying about concerns. It's like we're like, this means that, and that means we're going to lose this. But a part of me does begin to feel like when I look at the way these companies behave, and when I see them being like, can we make it happen on mobile? Can we make cloud gaming happen? Xbox says their Amazon Fire TV Stick thing now. And I'm looking at all this. It's like, oh, they are trying to find a way to make their current business model make sense by attracting this huge audience of people who are playing games, but they're all playing free to play games. And it's just not gonna happen. So because of that, I am going to lose something in that the way that gaming has worked for me my entire life is being sort of deprecated. It's being put to the side, and there are attempts to make it make sense because they still do want my money, and it has been a very good business model for them because it's like they get to charge a lot of money up front, and I think they do prefer that. But it just feels like, oh, it's not going to go away completely, but most of the energy, which has been happening for some time now, it feels like, is going to go into free to play and service games and things like that. It's Nintendo will still be there. PlayStation's still going to make stuff. PC gaming is a safe harbor in a lot of ways. But yeah, if you want these big companies involved, I think they are going to be kind of continuing to glance their eye over it. Like we tried to make the premium game happen still, but nope, we're making free to play games now.
Yeah.
All right. Circana shares the top 10 best-selling Star Wars games from January 1995 through May 2024. This is from Matt Piscatello, who works at Circana, put this on Twitter. Basically, I think he was just thinking about Star Wars because those Outlaw previews have been coming out and stuff like that. And he updated the list. He's done this before, but the updated list is as follows. Number 1 is Star Wars Battlefront 2015. Number 2 is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Then it goes Battlefront 2 2017, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, Star Wars The Force Unleashed, Battlefront 2 2005 at number 7, Star Wars Jedi Survivor at number 8, Lego Star Wars 2 The Original Trilogy at number 9, and Lego Star Wars The Original at number 10. Yeah, that's about right. I was expecting a lot of Lego games up there. I forgot that Jedi Fallen Order did that well. Got all the way up to number 2.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jedi Survivor number 8, not doing nearly as well, but also that was next gen or new gen only, the current gen consoles, and they are making last gen ports of those games right now, specifically probably because of what we see on this chart. Any surprises here for you?
Well, just on that, before I forget it again, when you mentioned Splitgate coming to last gen, the reason we're getting last gen ports of some games is where those consoles can run it. You may as well put it on.
Oh, yeah, systems. For sure. Yes, you might as well, especially for a multiplayer shooter, like without a doubt. But
I know so many people who still just have PS4 plugged in, have not gone up to PS5.
All their games probably still work. The ones that they actually care about still work.
Absolutely. When it comes to this, first of all, you and Matt get along pretty well, don't you?
Me and who now?
Matt Piscatello.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yes.
Okay, because he seems like the kind of guy who's a very smart person handling all this data, and then it's just randomly like, fuck it, Star Wars list. Let's do this. Why
not? Matt's perfect. He's great. I love him so much. Yeah, he's good at tweeting. He's good at like doing his business. Yeah, I appreciate him a lot for sure. Yeah.
Star Wars Battlefront 2015 at number 1.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, Battlefront 2 at number 3, right? And then they're like, well, we got to stop making these. So, okay.
Yeah, well,
so everything else before
someone got very mad at someone there, and maybe that's why that happened, because those games were very good. Battlefront 2, talking about bad business practices, Battlefront 2 got rightfully criticized for that.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, this kind of does all settle where I thought it would. Like you said, a lot of Lego games. Makes sense to me.
I think the maybe the one absence is Knights of the Old Republic, but when you think about it, that was mostly exclusive to Xbox when it launched, and it's. And even like when it got remastered, stuff like that, that was always at a discounted price. I'm not too surprised that it's not in the top 10.
Yeah, I did. Oh God, I did miss it initially. From 1995 to 2024.
Yeah, that's when NPD started tracking. I think 1995. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, Battlefront 2015 being better than all of those. That is slightly surprising.
Yeah, at a certain point, like Battlefront 2015 is going to come out when there's more people playing than ever. It was the first big Star Wars game in a long time. A decent amount of time. It's also, Battlefront, and as we know now, Battlefront stands are crazy for Battlefront, and they didn't necessarily know this wasn't going to be the Battlefront that they were asking for. And people do like that game, actually. So Battlefront 2015 is a game that a lot of people really enjoy, as well as Battlefront 2.
It's one of the first games that me and my friends picked up when we bought our PS4s. For I got my PS4 because I wanted Metal Gear Solid 5 to run better, and I wanted to play Street Fighter 5 without the janky PC port they were putting out. And one of the first games I got, me and my buddies, we all picked up Battlefront because we're like, yeah, the return of an IP that we love in Star Wars Battlefront. Looks good, sounds good. They're talking about how accurate it is to the movies and everything. Sure.
Yep, absolutely. The photogrammetry, so the rocks looked really good. I like that. All right. Europe's best-selling games of June and the first half of 2024. This comes from Nintendo Everything, but this data includes everything, not just Nintendo stuff. GSD data provides a look at the best-selling games across Europe in June, as well as the first half of 2024. It's based on data for all physical games released in major markets, plus digital game sales from most major publishers. From June specifically, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD charted the highest out of the new releases at number 7, and that's without digital data considered. Believe it or not, it was only 4,000 copies away from being the fastest selling Switch game this year. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door still holds that record. Note that Luigi's Mansion 2 HD sold just under a third of what Luigi's Mansion 3 achieved during the opening week in 2019. Yeah, that's pretty wild. So the number one best-selling game of June was EA Sports FC 24 because it's Europe, of course, and then Elden Ring bouncing back up to near the top.
DLC, presumably.
DLC, exactly. And then Grand Theft Auto 5. It's a lot of familiar faces.
GTA 5 back again, baby.
Yep, and then Civ 6, and that's like kind of a similar thing. 2K's got a lot of that stuff going on there. Take-Two, I should say. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay, hold up. Europe, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are y'all doing? First, okay,
they
first
love
of all,
Cowboys in Europe.
I got beef with Europe today too.
Oh, this is great. I always have beef with Europe.
They massacred my boy on the cover of what was it? I found this the other day when I was doing a video. A Super Monkey Ball Adventure. Jeff, you guys see this thing. Like, I'll send it over after the show.
Okay.
I'll put it on Twitter or something. But like, what are you all doing over there? Europe? Red Dead Redemption 2 in the top 5.
Yep, and then Hogwarts Legacy, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD at number 7. F1 24 at number 8, Grand Theft Auto Online. What the fuck does that mean?
Wait, what?
Are they selling a Grand Theft Auto Online separately? Did they start doing that?
No.
Is there like
how
are they like tracking shark cards and like these are just the money from shark cards? The number 9 best selling game of June.
Lexi's saying you can buy a box version of GTA Online.
I wouldn't. I'm not too shocked to hear that, and I'm also not shocked that we don't remember that happening. It also might not be here. Like, it might be a thing that's like in Europe or something, and that could be like regulation.
I do see John Lemon every once in a while will post when he's in like this German electronics store, like the wild boxed like PC copies that they have there sometimes. Yep. Yeah, so maybe that would make sense. Okay.
And then number 10 for June was NBA 2K24. But for the first half of the year, EA Sports FC, number 1 because it's Europe. And then number 2 is Helldivers 2. And number 3 is Grand Theft Auto 5. Then Hogwarts Legacy, Red Dead Redemption 2, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, Fallout 4 at number 7, actually. That's pretty wild. It Takes Two at number 8. What? Really? Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege at number 9, and The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered at number 10. It Takes Two has got to be the most... it shocks me how successful that game is. It was like 10 million copies or something like that. I know it was like Game of the Year at the Keeleys, but I didn't know it was going to get that kind of bump. That's pretty crazy. Europeans do love divorce. That's right, Minto. I forgot. But Fallout 4 at number 7, also very impressive. But I don't know. Again, any surprises here?
Okay, so that's best-selling games previously was... Okay, so that would be revenue in the previous list, right?
I think it's revenue, yes. These companies normally do it by revenue.
That makes a little more sense, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Typically. I don't know. This does speak to the year a little bit. I think, Europe's a very specific market when it comes to what they're looking for in terms of like, oh, what's going to be the best selling games. But still, it's like, when you see Grand Theft Auto 5 still there in the top 3, and something like a Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is nowhere to be seen on this list. It's like, oh boy, okay, what are we doing here?
Well, I mean, you still get a group of friends who haven't tried GTA 5 out, or they want to play it on their new platform, so they buy a new version of it. And that's like, you get like 3 or 4 copies sold right there, as opposed to, again, these traditional, especially console exclusive single player games, not going to hit as hard,
Yeah.
So.
And it's like, I think it's just part of the zeitgeist still, and young kids are growing up and they're like, okay, what are we going to after Roblox? It's like, should we try GTA Online? And it's right there waiting for them. They probably see their favorite content creators playing it all the time. Those role-playing servers are still very popular. So, yep, fair enough. All right, Silent Hill creator shares his thoughts about the closure of Hi-Fi Rush Studio. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. There have been numerous layoffs and studio closures in 2024, but one of the most surprising was Microsoft's decision to shut down Tango Gameworks, the studio behind Hi-Fi Rush, The Evil Within, and more. Now, Silent Hill creator and Bokeh Game Studio founder Keiichiro Toyama has shared his thoughts about why Tango Gameworks didn't survive. Tango Gameworks was founded by Shinji Mikami, who made his name in the survival horror genre with Resident Evil, just as Toyama established himself with Silent Hill. Mikami stayed true to his survival horror roots with Tango's first 2 games, The Evil Within and The Evil Within 2. According to Toyama, the decisions to branch out from that genre may have harmed Tango's long-term prospects. He says, I don't feel it's my place to give them advice, but I think going back to what I said earlier about the balance of routine and preserving the style of your games is relevant, said Toyama while speaking with VGC. You look at an example like From Software. They keep making different games, but certain styles and aspects of their games stay the same. That's an obvious example of how a studio is successful. Not changing everything every time might be the key to life and surviving. Yeah, deep. I'll say that I do notice like that I appreciate From Software style showing up across the genres. So when Armored Core 6, I'm playing that, and the Estus flasks for the giant mech is on the same button as the Estus flask for all the other From Software games. I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel a little bit more at home. I kind of maybe have some idea of what to expect from this game. And so when I get to a boss and it's beating me up, it's like, well, no, it's a From Software game. I understand what this challenge is kind of expecting from me. That said, I don't think I would extrapolate that to be like, and that's why Tango Gameworks shut down.
No.
I mean, I don't think Hi-Fi Rush, like on its own, is the reason that the studio shut down. I think it's just as simple as they didn't make enough money for Microsoft to make it make sense. So when everything else, all the other pieces shifting around there, and Microsoft wanting to save money, I'm a fan of the Red Wings. Recently, they basically did a trade for one of their best defensive players that everyone loves, and that did everything right and had one of his best seasons, but he just cost too much money. And they needed to make room under the salary cap. And so they traded him, and it was it looked like a terrible trade. They basically paid this other team to take this awesome player. Definitely similar vibes here, where it's like I feel like Microsoft has something of a salary cap imposed by, or a feeling that they should have a salary cap. So whenever Phil goes to talk to Satya Nadella, he could be like, look, we're kind of saving money here and there. And I think that Tango Gameworks was the victim of that.
Yeah, that might check out. Because first of all, when it comes to the design thing, I mean, you were kind of alluding to a more positive version of this take, where this is something that I've been saying a lot recently. If a company has solved a system, use that system both in their own games and in games externally that other people are making. Like, just don't be afraid to use that. Just use it. Exactly. But when it comes to Hi-Fi, first of all, I take it. God, I started out so positive this episode, and then the news happened.
And you are the big Hi-Fi Rush guy. I love Hi-Fi Rush, but it was your game of the year, right?
Runner-up, because Tears of the Kingdom.
Right. That's right.
But no, it was very, very close to taking that top spot. I love Hi-Fi Rush. That is a phenomenal game. It's what I want to see more of in gaming here in 2024. It was a breath of fresh air, and frankly, I don't like any of Tango's other games at all whatsoever.
Right.
And so they were literally, I can speak to this personally, reaching a new audience with this game. And hey, that's awesome. Like, that means that the studio is versatile. If they can have their evil withins and their ghost wires that are appealing to that crowd, but then also put out something completely different and it appeals to that crowd as well, to me, that just screams success. And this entire thing is about Microsoft just dropping the ball, like the Xbox division messing up yet again, because nothing about Hi-Fi Rush's closure spoke to me as a problem with the studio itself. It did speak to mismanagement in all of this. So I take a little bit of issue with sort of implying that they made a bad move in making this very critically beloved game that people were talking about positively on social media and everything. Everyone's favorite content creator was talking about it in a glowing manner. So it was getting good buzz online, and somehow the studio closes. The only thing that doesn't add up there is, again, management. So yeah, that I don't think it was on Tango at all.
Yep. I think you're right. I think it's the expectations and being able to sort of plan ahead for a studio that was in between games at this time when the Microsoft is at a low point, and the studio was definitely not. Like, explicitly, the studio was not at a low point, even though it may not have been as profitable as Microsoft wanted. That's, I think, you kind of can't blame anyone but Microsoft at a certain point for that. All right, last story here. Star Wars Outlaws is outdated. That's quote from some fans. 10-minute preview causes concerns 6 weeks from release. This is from Joe Craig at DualShockers. Basically, IGN put up a 10-minute gameplay reel that people can watch. It's one of their IGN first things. And fans are reacting, well, mostly kind of lukewarm or with some concerns. And I can't tell with this one, Sean, if it's puddle news where it's like, hey, people are just anxious. They really want to like this game. So they're really nitpicking on all the stuff that is making them worried that it's not going to live up to their expectations. Or if there's some legitimate stuff here. I know some of this stuff is puddle news. Like, one of the comments against this was, it looks so empty. And I think they were referencing, there's like a bit at the beginning of the video where she's like riding a speeder through Tatooine.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's on Tatooine. What do you mean it's empty?
What do you mean?
Seen the movie?
Are you dumb or are you stupid? Like, what is happening here?
Yes.
Yeah. But other people, well, the graphics aren't quite as. I don't know. I continue to think this game looks pretty good.
I think this is, frankly, the internet being stupid.
I'm leaning in that direction. I'm hoping. There were some like previews a few weeks back that people were like, oh yeah, look, maybe it's not going to be that great, but it still seems pretty okay. I don't know. I'm hoping the thing comes together and it really nails it. But I'm not getting the vibes from this trailer that it's in some deep trouble or something like that.
No, like if the gameplay comes out and the gameplay sucks, then sure, absolutely. I see Mental in the chat says it might be Tatooine fatigue.
Sure,
which, right.
I
think that might be valid, because especially trying to move away from the Skywalkers and everything, the Jedi
we don't need to be back
more
on Tatooine with this stuff anytime soon.
Maybe go somewhere we haven't seen a lot of, or
I get how it happens here,
because
it's like, oh, like you're a scoundrel character, you need to be dealing with criminals and the Hutt cartel being well established on Tatooine, but actually just go to Nar Hutta, whatever, I can't remember how to say it, whatever, the home planet of the Hutts, and they have a moon there that has like a bunch of scoundrel stuff on it. Deal with that first, and then have like Tatooine maybe as something that like gets referenced. I don't need to be back on it, so I appreciate that.
Do we know how much this is going to branch out in terms of locations?
There's a handful of planets, right? And I think there's some new ones. I know there's I think they have a new enemy or a new criminal syndicate is going to get introduced in this game. I think that's
remember
right.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
now Hutta and
branches
Narshada.
out.
Thank you, Dr. Erdy. Yeah, Erdy Cooper. Yes.
Yeah.
If it branches out, that'd be something.
That'd be good.
Yep.
I think people need to remember what marketing is always focused on. Marketing is not focused on us. If you are listening to this podcast right now, you are not the core demographic for marketing from a major
especially
company.
in the last several years. They stopped spending money on us because they know we spend our money anyhow. So
exactly, we are plugged in. Like everyone hearing my voice right now is plugged in enough to know already whether or not they're going to buy this game. And so what they are focusing on here is showing an iconic location and iconic Star Wars imagery to people who wouldn't otherwise identify it. They want people to look at this and say, oh, that's the first Star Wars movie. I know that.
definitely.
Like they're going to get that nostalgia. They're going to think to themselves, I could use a Star Wars that is like the good old Star Wars, not the new Star Wars that I didn't really like. So I think it's smart marketing, even if, it's going to be fatiguing for us.
Yeah, and it kind of hits multiple generations, right? Because it's like, oh, the first Star Wars and also Phantom Menace. So you get both groups of fans there. Yeah, and then there's a lot of people who love those prequels.
What is with the Zoomers and loving the prequels? I thought this was something that bridged generations, and we could all agree they suck.
No, they were kids. You were a kid, right? How old were you in the camp? Were you alive?
When episode one, barely. When episode one came out, 99? I was 4 years old. So I was in that audience. And guess what, Jeff? I maintain this. I like episode 2 more than episode 1 because episode 2 is a bad movie that I can laugh at. Sure. Episode 1 is a boring movie that I fall asleep during every time.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm nostalgic for that time, not necessarily for those movies. So that's about it. All right. I think what we should do now is wrap up the news. I got a poll question. Let me get that up and Adam so everyone can take a look at that.
That question, do we get answers?
We'll see. I'll refresh. Usually people rush in there. We got 400 votes. That's plenty.
That's good enough. That's good data.
Critical mass. Let me just frame it up properly here. There we go. All right. Are you still interested in Emio, the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club? 29% said yes, 33% said no, and then 38% says I still don't know what that is. That's pretty good for Emio. 29% to 33%, so almost 50-50 there. I was like, I think my immediate knee-jerk reaction to learning that the Emio game that was being teased last week was a Famicom Detective Club. I'm like, oh, I don't know. But I'm like, I don't know what I was expecting. And I love detective stuff. So why am I complaining? I should just try it. I never tried the Detective Club games.
Try it.
I should just try it. So I'm going to do that here with this one. And I'm looking forward to it. How about you? Is this something that would interest you ever?
I wanted to try the remakes so bad. Those also, as I recall, came out while I was like very focused on something else. I don't know if it's like a fighting game had come out or some single player game had come out, but something
but we were focused on that. Yeah.
When aren't I?
Who is it? Who is it?
Yeah. But no, I mean, this would be a good excuse to actually like give this series a try. Now it's a new one. Everyone's gonna be talking about it. Remakes are harder to go back to, because so many people know the story. To me, at least, it doesn't feel as special. But with this, a new story that people don't know and we can all sort of talk about together as we experience it, that's a little more exciting to me. So I probably will end up checking this one out because I love visual novels. Like that's one of my, not guilty pleasure, but like soft spot games.
Sure,
like I really got into them with Ace Attorney back in the day, and ever since, like, I'm not just picking up every random anime visual novel that comes out. But when people are like, "Oh, here's a really good one," like the Danganronpa series, I really got into. Like, I check them out, and usually, they really hit with me. So I'm looking forward to this one as well.
How much puzzle stuff do you think is in these games, or is it like all just is it just visual novel, whatever that means?
I think it is just visual novel, maybe with dialogue choices. I don't know, like, chat, if you've played these, feel free to let us know. But as far as I know, they lean more into visual novel rather than Ace Attorney, which has plenty of puzzle solving in it.
I'm gonna give it a shot. I've loved visual novel adjacent stuff in the past. The Telltale games a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, Telltale is like a modern take on visual novel mixed with, adventure.
The dialogue choices were like the thing for me in those games. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I have a new poll question. We'll get to that in a second. Before I do, Sean, what do you have going on? Where can people find you on the internet? All that good stuff.
of course, TurboSean_ on Twitter.com. You can find me doing stuff here on Giant Bomb. And then, of course, speaking of stuff I do for Giant Bomb, I'm going to be out at Evo this weekend, having a good time, first and foremost. I am not competing. Unfortunately, this was kind of a last minute thing, so I couldn't quite get a registration in for competing. But also, I got my ass kicked at Combo Breaker. And, I'm not sure I need that two times in a row this summer.
And go there and play cash games instead.
You look, Jason Finelli's going to be out there. You better believe I'm putting some money down, some Tekken or something. Yeah, let's go. I think I'm going to make this work, Jeff. I'm going to do. If you are at Evo, first of all, say hi, not for my ego, but because I'm working on something where I would love to get a bunch of cameos from duders in there. So if you're going to be there, make sure to say hi. Also, I think I might try to do this where at any point, as long as I'm not like running to an appointment, because that's part of the reason I'm not competing as well. I'm there for work stuff as well. As long as I'm not running to an appointment, anytime, anywhere, we can throw down. So I'm going to have Street Fighter and Tekken and a few other games on my Steam Deck. I'm going to have a dock with me, and I'm just going to bust out the Steam Deck, and people can challenge me if they want.
Perfect. You should get is one of those like really cheap portable monitors, so you could just like plug in and it just works.
That'd be cool too.
Yes, those are very good. So next time. All right. So you got to like a couple hours. You're getting on that bus. What time's your flight?
Late, Jeff, and it got delayed further. So thankfully, with time zones, it's not like insane. I'm gonna get in around midnight, so it's like I can still get a good night's sleep, still get up, and then like,
yes, okay, perfect. Yeah. Are you staying with somebody, or do you get a hotel room or whatever?
No, I'm going solo this time. Because usually I go to these things with friends, but because it was a last minute thing, I just I'm going on my own this time.
Okay, so your room will be ready and all that stuff. All right, very cool. Good deal. All right. New poll question. I almost read Wednesdays again. Have you made an in-game purchase in a free-to-play? You know what? Let's just make that. Have you made an in-game purchase in a game? Because it seems like that's what
in a game. Because this would include DLC as well. That's my understanding.
In the last year, yes or no? Those are your options. We'll get that posted up on
yes and no zero.
No, and then no set or something. That is a zero. My eyesight's just bad. Let's see, what was I going to say? That we'll have the poll up on youtube.com/@giantbomb under the community tab. If you're ever looking for our content, it's usually there under the live tab on YouTube.
Also, I don't think I've mentioned this on a show yet. I did clean up the YouTube page a little bit.
Yeah, thank you.
So if someone does just go to youtube.com/giantbomb or /@giantbomb, you should be, the first thing you see is it might be Metal Gear Scanlan, actually, with the way I set it up. But then like right below that should just be our live streams. And then right below that is most recent upload videos. So the home page should show you everything you need. But then, usually all of our stuff is on our live tab since we live stream to YouTube.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Speaking of Metal Gear Scanlan, go check that out. All that's up there on YouTube now. All right. Let's see. So the poll question, we'll have the results on Game Mess Mornings on Giant Bomb tomorrow. Speaking of Giant Bomb, later today we will have Voicemail Dump Truck. Don't know if I'll do a stream between then and now. Probably not. I got some other stuff going on. But Voicemail Dump Truck at the normal time. Expect that. I gotta make sure I got enough people to do that. I'll double check. But then tomorrow, Friday, Game Mess Mornings. Then we will play NES World Championships on this website, and then BCR to probably talk about that. Maybe some other things as well. And Kane Highwind, yes, a Squidward update. I've decided I've not bought it yet. I will buy it, and I'm going to keep it hidden away. So it's here. I'm just not going to give it to her yet.
Surprise Squidward.
There will be a surprise Squidward at some point. So everyone deal. She did ask for something else yesterday. I'm like, you were just asking me for Squidward. See why I don't just get things? And she's like, well, wait. No, I do want Squidward more. So that helps. That makes it a little bit easier to actually pull the trigger on it, that she still prefers that. All right, Sean, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Always love doing this show, Jeff. Pleasure to be back.
Travel safe. Get there. Have fun. Everyone, make sure you do say hi. Don't hesitate. If you're in there's a Giant Bomb FGC Discord or something. If you're in there, tell everyone like look out for Sean. Post this picture like a mugshot, and then hunt him down like the dog he is.
Yeah. Hey, Marino. I think Marino's gonna be there. Come fight me.
Yeah,
I want to meet you in person.
Hell yes. Yeah. I'm glad you're gonna be able to meet Marino and all those folks out there.
I can't believe I'm gonna meet Jason before I meet you in person. This is hilarious.
That's messed up.
It's fucked up.
I should have gone to Evo. That would have been great. Until next time, everybody, in fact, have a good one. You're the best audience in gaming. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.